Hi guys, it's Ruben here. Look, I've got some great information I've just been reading up from Peter Daniels' book called Jesus and Wealth. And in our abilities that we were trying to look at how important is creating income, getting freedom of time and money, and the difference between getting rich and getting wealthy. And I think this information will be really, really good to you. So I want you to look through this information, listen to it. I've also put it on a PowerPoint slide so that you can actually see what I'm talking about, and look at how Jesus was actually considered beyond wealth in every area, and it's just an amazing bit of information. So, look, listen to it and give me your thoughts at the end. Put a comment down on the YouTube or on the blog or wherever. Send me an email just to give me your comments and your feedback as well. All right, here we go. Take care. All right, just want to chat to you about something very, very interesting called Jesus Was Beyond Wealth. It's some research done by Peter Daniels on Jesus and wealth in his one of his books. Um, it's very interesting. I want you to sit back and just go through this in the next few minutes and listen to the information here and read it on the screen as well. The definition of wealth is one who is able to obtain what is immediately required, no matter what the need may be, and as such would have to be the ultimate luxury and put one well beyond wealth as we know it. There is a strong belief that the collective qualities found in this person clearly put Jesus not just in the category of wealthy, but beyond wealth. Further, we submit that Jesus is the only person in history who has qualified for that status. Beyond wealth, because without the liability and obligations of managing a vineyard or the need to own a winery, Jesus turns water into wine, and it wasn't even his water. And not just wine, but the best wine, John 2:10, without even paying for it. He was able to obtain what was immediately required. He was beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, because as an inside trader in the fishing industry, he had prior knowledge in respect to location and volume of the catch that would make any futures trader on the New York Stock Exchange a millionaire in 30 days. John 21, verse 6. He was beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, because of the 12 businessmen he dined with on one occasion, Jesus could predict which ones could not be trusted right down to the time the betrayal would take place. Matthew 26:21 and 46. And which of the 12 would deny him even after publicly confirming a vote of confidence in favor of Jesus' leadership. Matthew 26:34. Any executive demonstrating such insight into people's character as Jesus possessed could easily demand of any multinational corporation a mega salary to chair their board meetings, and they would be willingly paid. Jesus was beyond wealth. How often have you said, if only I knew that was going to happen, I would have made a fortune? That knowing the future was a normal experience for Jesus. He knew the headlines in tomorrow's morning's newspaper, or next year's paper for that matter. He was beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, because when it came to paying taxation, he was able to extinguish his liability simply by having a fish pay the temple tax for him. Matthew 17, verse 27. Jesus even picked up the tab on his associate's tax obligation courtesy of the same fish. He was able to obtain what was immediately required. He was beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, as there is no evidence that Jesus ever paid civil tax, the approach to collect from Jesus, Mark 12:14, by the civil government agents came to naught as Jesus was able to negotiate a nil tax liability status with the state. How much wealthier would your family be today if you had no tax encumbrance on your family's assets or income? Jesus was beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, because he could heal the incurable diseases of his day with just a touch. Luke 5:13. No need for years of laboratory research at the cost of millions. Just one touch. He was beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, because when he wanted to travel into town with so much as a phone call, he had a donkey waiting that he had never bred, never fed, never stabled, never trained, and he never had to worry about parking when he arrived at his destination. He got a voluntary red carpet reception. Matthew 21:7. Jesus was beyond wealth. If knowledge is wealth, Jesus tops the list again as surely as his intellect was beyond any known measure of knowledge in the then known world. The intellectuals of his day in open debate marveled at his knowledge. Luke 20:26, John 7:14 and 15. His reservoir of knowledge clearly silenced his would-be critics and put himself far beyond any wealth of knowledge they could muster. Beyond wealth, because his father owns the largest cattle ranch on the planet. Psalm 50:10 says he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and the mineral reserves beyond the biggest publicly listed mining company on Wall Street. Psalm 24 verse 1. Beyond wealth, because although many of the world's richest live in a mansion, Jesus' house contains many mansions, John 14:2. And the main street in his neighborhood is not constructed of black bitumen or even stylish cobblestones, but gold, Revelation 21:21. Beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, because just a cursory glance at his miracles confirms that he was able to multiply assets exponentially. In the case of the feeding of the 5,000, if we concede that one person would have eaten half a loaf of bread and one fish, then Jesus' food fund showed a capital growth rate of 500,000% per day in bread and over 250,000% per day in fish. Mark 6:41. No capital growth in history has come close to that. At that rate of return, you could give Jesus $1 on Friday night, and over the weekend, he would turn you into a multimillionaire. He was clearly beyond wealth. But then, to top it off, Jesus gave it all away, and he didn't diminish his asset base one bit. Beyond wealth, because Jesus was a unique dresser. As one discovers, he wore the clothes of one who shopped at the top end of the market. So much so that after his assassination, rather than cut up his coat and divide it 4 ways as a souvenir, the soldiers decided to draw straws for the trophy and keep this quality seamless garment entire, as such a masterpiece of tailoring demanded. John chapter 19:23 and 24. Beyond wealth, as his burial was that reserved for the very, very rich. In this case, the mega rich tin merchant Joseph from the town of Arimathea donated the tomb that Jesus was buried in. Jesus didn't even have to pay a dime for the tomb, Matthew 27:60. He had the ability to obtain that which was immediately required, even after he breathed his last. Jesus was clearly beyond wealth. Beyond wealth, because what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? Jesus conquered death. He has both. Beyond wealth, because you clearly can't give what you haven't gotten. You can't lead from behind. So when Jesus' Father promises to give wealth, he could only do so if he first possessed wealth, Ecclesiastes 5:19, which he clearly does. You would therefore not be surprised to discover that this same Jesus is able to teach his wealth techniques and multiply wealth to the apprentices that follow him, Deuteronomy 8:18. To our way of thinking, that's a God who, personified in Jesus, was the only in history who can claim the accolade as being beyond wealth. Jesus was beyond wealth. And the amazing thing is that if we follow him as disciples, then we have the ability to create wealth and create it and be beyond, live a life that is beyond the wealth that this world sees.